Hey guys, welcome back to my art studio. Today we're going to make glue and paint. Now you don't always have materials at home, art materials to complete an art assignment or an art project. So what you need to do is access your pantry to make some wonderful and amazing art supplies. And we're going to do that in about 2 seconds. So we're going to first make glue. And what do you need to make glue? Flour, water, and a little bit of salt. This is my personal recipe, and what I do recommend is that you get a container of some kind, like this, to store it in, because you're going to use this probably for more than one project. So this has a lid, and then it can go right into the refrigerator when you need it again. So what do we need to make glue? So we're going to need 1 cup of flour. I know flour is not easy to find these days. But 1 cup of flour. 1 cup of flour. So 1 part flour and 1.5 cups of water. So 1.5 cups of water, or 1.5 parts water, 1 part flour. And then you're going to grab maybe a tablespoon and some salt, and just put a little bit of salt just to keep it from going bad. Salt kind of is special that way. And then you're going to just mix it up. You want it to have the consistency of mushroom soup. If you've ever seen mushroom soup, I'm just going to keep, you want to get all the lumps out. And that's it. And now you've got your glue. Once all the lumps are out, you've pretty much made, you can see there, I don't know if you can see. So you can see it pours like a glue mixture. And that is glue. So now we're going to make paint. So there are 4 types of paints that I researched that I do enjoy. One being pudding paint, the next being corn syrup paint, the third being flour paint, and the 4th cornstarch paint. So let's start. What you're going to need for the pudding paint is basically pre-made pudding, a vanilla pudding obviously for your base, and a teaspoon, and something to mix it in. So I've got an ice cube tray, but you can use, muffin trays or whatever. And so I'm going to take 1 teaspoon of pudding, and then with pudding paint you don't need that much in the way of drops of food coloring. And then grab either a stir stick or a brush, and you can actually start to mix it up, and you get a beautiful color. I just love pudding paint. So I've got a nice gorgeous green that I'm going to paint on here. I already started making pink and purple, you could see on the top, and this one is a nice gorgeous green. Now this actually dries hard. You'd think it would be sticky and gross, but it actually dries, this is a neon green. It dries kind of glossy, very pretty. So along the bottom there you can see the pink or red, purple, and that's a neon green. So that's pudding paint. So now we're gonna do corn syrup paint. I know that you probably think that it's sticky as well, but it dries beautifully, clear, glossy. So I've already started a couple. I just put, again, 1 little drop, or not, sorry, sort of a teaspoon again. And then your color. Here you're gonna have to add a little bit more color, just because of the nature of the paint. So this kind of paint is clear and glossy. So because it's transparent, you have to add more food coloring. So I've just made a purple alongside my, let's see over here, alongside my green, blue, you'll see my purple. pretty that is. And that is cornstarch paint. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? Next, we're gonna do flower paint. So flower paint requires flour, salt, and water. And I know that it's not easy to find flour. We've just made glue. So I'm going to ask that you use less flour. So with flour and the flour paint, you're going to need 1 part flour, 1 part salt, and 1 part water. So I'm going to add my salt. And I'm going to get a spoon to mix that around. Kind of stir that together before you put the water in. And then you're going to pour your water in. So 1 part flour, 1 part salt, and 1 part water. You stir it around again until this is actually a more liquidy version of the glue. So while you're making glue, you can make flower paint. And the great thing about this, the salt adds a texture and sort of a glittery effect to your salt, or to your paint. So I'm just going to pour that in there, maybe a couple of teaspoons. And then I'm going to choose my paint. Maybe we'll do a food coloring. Here again, you want to add quite a bit. Depends on how dark you want to go with your color. So sometimes you might want to go a little darker, you'll add a little bit more. I added 4 drops. Grab a stir stick, stir it around. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. I can't believe we've made paint in this fashion. I just need some more brushes. Oh, there's some brushes. So red flower paint. I love it. You may have to do a few coats again. It's not an opaque paint, but it does the job. It really does the job. So that's the red. That's the red. You might have to do a few coats. You may have to add a little more food coloring on that one, but that's your flower paint. So for your last paint, you're going to use cornstarch and distilled vinegar. So pick up and if you can, a reusable container so that you can seal it. You're making a little bit more here, not a teaspoon at a time. You're going to need 2 parts cornstarch and 3 parts distilled vinegar. Stir it around. You've got to stir it consistently because the cornstarch tends to fall to the bottom. And then you can pour it into your ice cube tray or whatever you have, and then pick a color. I've done a purple here. I'm going to do a pink, and then I'm going to grab a brush. Let's see, I'm going to use this brush here. This is more of a watercolor paint, not my top of the pick, but it's still a great way to paint. Oops. So you can see it's quite liquidy. You've got to keep stirring to the bottom, and that's that there, that one there. So this one requires a little more dry time, but it's still a gorgeous paint. So now you've made glue and paint. Please put your paints into the fridge because the paints are made out of food, and if you want to use them in the future for any future projects, that's the way you'll keep them nice and fresh. Cover them maybe with some plastic or some kind of cover so that it doesn't stink up the rest of the refrigerator. The glue can actually go into a resealable container, as I had showed you earlier, and seal it, put it to the side, and you can use it again. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're well, and keep making amazing art.